We used to have a cancellation fee. And I remember just sitting in my office and just hearing the fights and the arguments and people fighting with customer service about this fee. And I remember just walking there and said, look, if they want to cancel all reservations. Just don't fight. We don't know what this is. Just make it right to these people. At the same time, we had competitors that were trying to hold 25% down for future bookings, people fighting the credit card processors. There was just a whole lot of
so bad
angst and people not want to do, but we did that decision.
Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz. I'm your host, Linnell Gordon. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, make sure to catch part one of my conversation with Hunter Harrelson from Beachball Properties. Now, today we're going to pick up where we left off with even more insights on how to scale your operation. We're going to talk about building a brand that lasts and the single decision that Hunter made during COVID that took Beachball Properties from, they were like at 100, it took them to 250 almost overnight. Now they're at 350 or so, and they're still growing. I'm so excited to share with you this episode. Now, we talked about being in the right roles. So one of the ways that you determine whether people are in the right roles in your company is use the CI, which is great, the Cultural Index. As you're preparing for future growth, because I know you're not sitting there saying, hey, we're done. Let's just leave it right here. I mean, unless you go, this is where a lot of people do. And they're like, this is where I want to go. I'm going to be here and here's my goal and I'm going to leave it here. As you prepare to have to grow your company more, what type of operational foundation are you using to give you confidence in that growth? What are you using to help?
So it's an excellent question. So talking about our rapid growth, actually 2026, we're not turning the spigot off all the way, but we're kind of toning it back. We're being very, very specialized in what we're taking on going forward. I was talking to someone the other day and I never really thought about this. We just were like volume, 500. We want to get to 500, get to 500. And they said, I bet 20% of your properties in management, I bet if you look at it, you're managing them for free. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I went back and started running the numbers. And I'm like, oh my God, I am the top 20%. It's almost like the tax bracket, right? My top 20% are paying for me to manage these bottom 20. And we didn't want to come out and just cull those properties and just, send them out into the wilderness. A lot of them are people that have been with us for a while. So we were like, we're going to hang in there with it, but we've got to be very precise on what we take on going forward. And we had to restructure the organization, right? So I look at the business, a lot of competitors or peers hire property managers, right? Like let's call it what it is, the Vacasa model, right? Vacasa,
right.
They have an ORM, and that ORM is responsible for an assistant, the cleaner, and they give them a portfolio of 50, 60, 50, or 50, 60, 80, 90 properties, and they get overwhelmed. And then they get blasted by owners until they peace out and they leave. And then you hand another person and say, here's your 90 properties, learn all these people. It's a failure system. So we wanted to build it more as a funnel where things coming through customer service and it's diverted, right? So I have an operations manager. That operations manager manages customer service, who has a lead, maintenance, which is a lead, and housekeeping, which has a lead. Those three departments are just if you want to call it a vicious cycle, but they all have to communicate with one another, right? Housekeeping has to clean, but they have to report to maintenance what's going on. Customer service has to report to housekeeping. So they constantly have to communicate. And that's why I need one person managing the managers there, right? And then there's the fun part. There's marketing. I have a CMO and she has a social media manager, and then she has subs that she uses for video content or postcard production or whatever that may be, right? But that's the fun. That's helping us grow. I have a broker that runs our real estate department. And instead of having traditional business development manager that you overinflate and pay six figures, I actually use my real estate agents as business development because they're the eyes and ears out there buying and selling properties. So I pay them commissions on what they bring in. They get a commission if they bring it outsource and bring it in versus an in-source if it's a call that's coming from in-house. So pay them that way. And then of course
that's brilliant. Can I just say I love that idea to have your broker be a business developer, because that's what they are trained to do.
Correct. And then, of course, revenue management, he's a hybrid, but I put him in with marketing because at the end of the day, he needs to communicate to marketing that, these 20 properties, I've tried to adjust the price. They need a little love. Can they get a social post? And then, I still have my little, thumbprint on things. We're all going and say, guys, this week's low. Do we need to run a promo? What do we need to do here? And most times they're like, we got it, boss. And I'm like, hey, I get it. Trust but verify, right? So that's their revenue management. And then owner relations. I couldn't really, I didn't want to put them under operations. The manager there does kind of answer to the operation manager just because she's just kind of a bulldog and kind of just takes care of everybody. But, owner relations kind of has to communicate with her to know, hey, look, this owner needs this with housekeeping. This owner needs this with, whatever. I mean, customer service, you're really not going to have much of that for owner relations. But I've got 3 there. One primarily is the intake. New properties come in, he goes over everything they need to know. Here's the ins and outs. And then they follow the process to push it live. Then the property goes live. He's going to get emails from owners just because he's who they originally dealt with. But we have one dedicated email for each department too, that we try to, and we send out a newsletter every month. And we remind them this is the email addresses for each individual piece. Like that's another thing with owners, constant communication. Owners won't fire somebody that they feel like they have a connection with that they're
Right.
friends with. And that has actually been a catch-22. I'm not going to hide behind this. Ginger and I did get to a point where we had to let go, right? We had to let go of these roles. And we kind of spent late 24 into 25 of becoming more of a CEO, CLO, let everybody else handle things. And we did see kind of a drop off for properties because they didn't feel they had that connection to hunters. So we implemented new programs for outreach with owner relations so that they started building those relationships with owners. Because again, you don't want to fire somebody you feel like you have a connection to, right? And that I guess has been the hardest transition over the last couple of years is me and Ginger taking that step back and other people playing the role of Hunter and Ginger, but knowing that we're always here. I mean, I get on a call with owners, I get on a call with vendors. I'm still involved. Like they call it the Hunter magic. My operation director today, we're looking at locking system, and she's like, I need some Hunter magic today. And I'm like, okay, what do you need? She's like, I know you can call and persuade them better than I can. I need you. I said, okay, so tell me who I need to call, what do I need to do, and I get involved, and I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I mean, I may not clean the toilet anymore, but I'm still going to get into the nitty gritty with folks.
What was one mistake that you made in your early leadership journey that shaped the way that you're running the business today?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I never try to look. I'm one of those. I kind of say I'm kind of like a bull shark. I'm always looking forward. I try not to look at the mistakes and turn my head
But
back.
every year you do. Every fall, you look at the mistakes from the year before and you plan on how to do those, not to do those again. So I'm certain that as we look back over our journeys when we started our company, what's the one thing you're like, gosh, I
So
wish I
we alluded to it earlier. It's holding on to somebody too long because I have a personal relationship with them and not cutting them loose when the writing was on the wall. Um, and again, I don't want to get into bashing, but this latest individual had been with us for 5 years, and I trusted them, and they always said, I've got it, it's under control. And we had a big meeting, a retreat, if you will, back in October, and everybody met, and I brought my CFO in. And he comes in and he calls me when he's on his way back to Birmingham, and he said, Hunter, he said, I've been doing this for 30 years. And he said, I've dealt with companies with hundreds of millions of dollars and companies your size. He said, I've never been in a meeting where everybody was so engaged and everybody was so on the same page. He's like, you've got something really special there. And
love
I really
that.
I get chill bumps, him telling me about this. Well, after the meeting, we still couldn't seem to catch a groove, and we just couldn't figure out what it was. And I finally got very frustrated and probably showed my colors a little bit too much. And this individual actually just said, you know what? I think it's best interest. I'm going to quit. And we were like, what? You've been here forever. I mean, okay, we weren't going to get rid of you. We were just going to repurpose you. And they just stepped away. And I mean, there were people crying in the office. It was just, I could not believe this is happening. And nobody was mad at us. Nobody, because I even went back and said,
No.
whoa, I did not, this could have been dealt with differently. Well, it was almost like a week later, everybody was like, that was what was holding us back. that group. And now everybody here, it's like everybody's caught a new gear, everybody's revitalized, everybody's communicate all this different stuff. And we didn't realize that that one individual that we were holding on too long. So again, that wasn't early in the business. That's as late as recently that's happened, that I've learned now. Like, if you see the snag, you see the problem, you've got to cut bait. Like you said, it did for him. He saw it before I did, and I thank him for that. And we still communicate. It's not like I just cut him off or he cut me off, but it was like we we both had an understanding on that.
I
And
think one of
maybe one day he comes around and wants to come back and work in a different role, and I probably would have him back. But again, he was on the wrong seat on the bus, and that's something I learned as early as now. And then going back to other people, over promoting people to jobs, you could, the old adage, you can turn a great employee into a bad manager.
Oh
You've got to be
my
really
gosh,
careful of
that's
that.
true. Oh, please repeat that. Say that again, guys, because this is important. It's it's going to make me raise my hand again. Say that
You can
again.
turn a good employee into a bad manager.
Had a conversation about that about 3 weeks ago. Amazing guy, really, really smart, smart at what he does, brilliant. And I tried for years to put him in management. I mean, long-term employee, love, love, love. But I needed to duplicate him. And you don't realize, guys, until I mean, here's the lesson. The lesson is make decisions quickly. If you see that, make the decision. I know it's a heartfelt thing, but yeah, don't make a good employee a bad
Yeah.
manager. I've
And
been there, done
then
that. Got
and
the
then
t-shirts.
and then I would probably give you a flip scenario. So this is a question. I know you're the podcaster, but I'll ask the question for you. A lot of people always ask me, what was the moment? What was the probably best decision you've made that kind of changed
Oh.
everything? So I go back to, it was during COVID. It was March. They had closed the beaches down. We used to have a cancellation fee, and I remember just sitting in my office and just hearing the fights and the arguments and people fighting with customer service about this fee. And I remember just walking there and said, "Look, if they want to cancel all reservations. Just don't fight. We don't know what this is. Just make it right to these people." At the same time, we had competitors that were trying to hold 25% down for future bookings, people fighting the credit card processors, people, there was just a whole lot of
Oh, so bad.
angst and people not what to do. But we did that decision. I remember at the time, I think it was $560,000 in escrow funds out the door. And I'm looking at my escrow balance and it's nearly at zero. And I'm looking at my operations balance and I'm like, I've got enough money. And I remember going to the team, I said, I've got enough money to get us to Memorial Day. After Memorial Day, some tough decisions are going to be made. And that's really when Ginger and I first got into, I guess, advocacy and lobbying. And we got to know our senators and our reps, and we're fighting for, open the beaches back up. This is ludicrous. This is, it's an airborne thing, and you're safe out there on the beach. And do we even know what we were talking about? We were like, please God, just, and we had, the funny thing is on February the 9th, we had been awarded the Coastal Alabama Business Chamber Business of the Year. And within 6 weeks, it's like we don't even have a business. It was wild times. But when they opened the beaches back up, I'll never forget the date and time. April 28th at 11 a.m., the governor announced beaches open up. That single day, it was our biggest sales day in history. I think we did over $150,000 in sales in one day. It was wild. I mean, the phones were ringing off the hooks. That was when Ginger started her Facebook page. And I'll let her talk about that on her podcast and dig deeper. But all the talk was about how Beachball did the right thing, took care of customers, gave refunds, didn't fight, no lawsuits, no anything. And that was like the aha moment where we went from like 100 to 250 properties, like boom. And it was like we were shot out of a rocket. And again, scary decision to make. And I could have been wrong, but Lord willing, I was right.
That's amazing. Do you have a cancellation policy today?
Not we don't have that charge anymore. We just eat the credit card fee, but we you do have to pay full 30 days prior to arrival. Airbnb, you have to be a little more lenient with them, which again, I could go to into advocacy. I could go into how cancellation policies with them are causing this new market of last minute reservations and people
It's
booking and holding and waiting for
crazy.
something cheaper. And it just
Insanity.
it creates a whole new problem. But inside of 30 days, you pay in full. If you cancel inside of 30 days, it's 50% refund up to 14 days. Inside of 14 days, it's none. Just kind of trying to explain to a guest, like, we can't really recreate that just because you've
We
now
can't
look, I mean, if
rebook
you
it. Yeah.
call me and your grandmother died or your dog died or, you know, I won't name the name, but I saw one, something like that. We'll work with you. I mean, we're going to ask for the death certificate. We had one the other day that actually emailed us that said they were getting a divorce, so they wouldn't be traveling together. So we we worked that one out. So I hate to be a bleeding heart, but most people, 99% of people are honest, and that they're going to come use their reservation or they're going to book at a later date or whatnot. So I mean, I'm sure plenty of people's grandmothers died when they were taking college exams.
Built by property managers for property managers, Streamline is a powerful software that gives managers enterprise-level capabilities to drive more revenue and improve operational efficiency. Migrating to Streamline allows property managers to gain functionality while reducing the need for multiple vendors. Improve your flow by logging into a single system and reduce redundant technology costs. With Streamline, property managers achieve revenue lifts by leveraging our fully fledged communication center reservations, quoting system, revenue management tools, homeowner acquisition CRM, and powerful direct OTA connections. Streamline also has industry-leading trust accounting and report capabilities to give you clarity in an overall company performance. Learn more about Streamline Vacation Rental software at streamlinevrs.com. Well, I'll tell you this, and I think that you've made my point that I was talking about earlier, because you're a sharp business person, and you're making the right decisions by letting people go the way that they need to, and moving people into the right seats. But you're also, of course, you're very compassionate. You're in property management. I mean, you are hospitality driven. You are a good person. So being a
Mhm.
good person, I think when that person said that to me, I thought about the fact that everybody that I know in hospitality that's in leadership, not only are they a good person, but they're kind and they're compassionate and they really are full of goodness. So that person that now moved from fintech into our industry, she's a perfect fit. I mean, I'm just telling you, that was so Sophia Rosada, and she's our she's she's in leadership at Inhabit. And she is brilliant. I mean, a brilliant, brilliant woman. But when she said that to me, literally, my jaw dropped in my head. I'm not going to do that in front of somebody. But when she said that, and I thought, you know what? That is such good advice for companies. I would never have thought about getting had that advice coming out of fintech, but coming out of hospitality, like the story you just told. You know,
Mhm.
of course, you're good people. You're like the best people. That's why it's so much fun to go to get-togethers where we're all together. People are nice. They're just really
Mhm.
nice. That's why we
Well,
fire mean
Now,
owners.
now I'll be truthful, and I can flip the switch. I can be nice and be hospitable, but when it gets down to when it gets down to finances, I can be a little more of a bulldog. I guess that's why I've been successful, is I know how to turn it all one way. And that's one thing. A lot of vendors, if you talk to any of them, offline and ask them about Hunter, they'll tell you Hunter's super nice. He'll have a drink with you. He'll be friendly. But if you want to know his opinion, he will share his opinion, good, bad, or indifferent, and he will hurt your feelings sometimes. And I tell all of them, I'm like, if you've got something you want to beta test, let me beta test it, and I'll rip it apart, and or I'll tell you how great and wonderful it is. So I've even got one vendor that's like tried to make me their poster boy, and try to have me talk to people and help them sell and close stuff, because they're like, we know when you say something, it means something. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I tell everybody, if you want your software broken, give it to me. I started out as a test engineer in my career, and I love breaking software. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I'm pretty good at that.
I,
But
I
let me
know
ask you,
some of them see my email pop through and they're just like, "Oh God, what did we do now? What is it?" Because that was one of my things about with our software system we use that I would email them. I'm like, "Look, I'm not trying to be ugly and I'm not trying to pull rank, but if you get an email from me, it means that everybody in my team has tried something. They've come to me and I've gone at it from every angle, and I'm emailing you because I can't figure it out." And once they kind of figured that out, they're like, "Okay, if Hunter's emailing me, like, let's solve the problem because it's a big deal."
I love that. My sister's implementing some new systems in her property management company, and it's a big deal to her. And she said, "It's the first time I've not gotten involved. I'm letting other people handle this." She said, "But there were some things that were not getting done, and I reached out to them and they fixed it." So I'm really excited about the fact that our vendors are listening in the space, and they really are able to move things to where they need to be for us to use it. I mean, those are the vendors you want. Those are the ones you want to keep. If you were advising a new property manager today that they're entering, the market today, say the Alabama Gulf Coast market, uh, what would you tell them to prioritize first?
Brand. Branding. That's something that a lot of property managers don't focus on. They just throw a name out there, and sometimes it works. A piece of advice I got when we were first trying to think of the name of the company, I thought about just being Harrelson Property Management. And I was talking to a guy smarter than me, and he said, "What's a Harrelson?" I
Yeah.
was like, that's me. I'm a Harrelson. He's like, "Is your family from the area?" No. Was your dad a mayor or something as something? No. Well, what does your last name matter? And I'm like, okay, so I need to come up with something catchy. And some people probably heard the story how we came up with beach ball, but as a professor at Alabama, we had a board of different names and we were down to a handful. And funny or not, seaweed was actually a name we had thought of just because seaweed kind of just they think it's seaweed, but yeah, it make you stop and talk about it because that's what junior are like. How do we create a conversation? And he said, "I like beach ball." And I remember closing my eyes. He said, "Beach ball." And I said, "As a little boy, little girl running down the beach." He said, "That's what you're selling, right?" So, I mean, I know this is probably egotistical to say, but I think we're one of the top five most recognizable brands in the industry. I've been on other podcasts where the guy said, "I never met you in Ginger, but I've heard of beach ball." I've heard of the company. I've heard of the brand. We own the domain beachball.com. I've had people reach out and try to buy the domain from me. So focus on your brand and what you're trying to sell. Don't just name it your last name, or don't name it Gulf Shores Rentals or Coastal Rentals. Just think about your algorithm search and what people are going to be looking for, what's going to have stickiness to it. Another thing back to me and Ginger, when you're moving to this new area, nobody's from Orange Beach. Nobody was born here, raised here. Orange Beach High School has only been around 5 years. Gulf Shore's only been around since the early 2000s, right? So, but everybody here knows somebody back home. So know everybody local and have a good brand that they will talk about you to their friends. And that's how eventually people will come down here.
Let me ask you something. What does success mean to you, Hunter, beyond revenue growth, beyond making a bunch of money? And what does success actually mean to you here?
So, that's always going to change. I feel like that changes over time. My dad always had, write your goals down. Success to me is that, I'm financially secure enough that I don't have to worry about going on a trip. I don't have to worry about when Ginger wants to book her next trip somewhere. She's talking about going to France this year, the south of France. It's knowing that my children's education is going to be taken care of. It's that I've built a team out that I can coach my son's t-ball team. I can coach my daughter's basketball games. That's what it means to me. I mean, everybody wants to make money, but you want to make money to that level that you've got family time and that you're not stressing about every little financial decision. Now, look, do I still give Ginger a hard time about her spending? Absolutely. Do I still come home and there's 4 Amazon boxes on the front steps? Absolutely. But but I want that for her, right? And that's why we're such a good team, is because she's helped me get there. She hasn't just sat there and just watched me and worked me, and she's not that wife that says go make more money. If I need her, she steps in. And I'm happy to make her happy.
I love to watch you guys together. I do. I have I I'll tell you guys, I'm going to interview Ginger, and I have before. If you didn't see that, you should go back and look before the new one because it's going to be totally different this time when I interview her. But I love looking at. Um, she's a great marketer, but the real pictures that I see with your family, the kids are growing so fast, and our kids do. They grow up so fast. And you look at that and you go, it was just the other day when they were, 3 or 5 years old, they were just cutie patooties, and now they are into, all these types of things. And life is so short that I do think that workaholics like you, like Ginger, like me, like my husband, I mean, I can say that and my sister, my family, we all have these really strong work ethics. But I think that I have to make myself take a step back. I know people see us traveling to all these exotic locations. I know they see that with you too on social media. And they think, wow, that's a great vacation. Well, we just came back from Europe. We were gone for 7 weeks and we worked, and we worked every working day except for Shabbat, um, uh, 12 to 18 hours. We worked late and early in the mornings in our beds and our computers, getting work done. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think that, like you said, when we define success, at the end of the day, we want to have enough uh, resources that our family is secure and that we have time to spend with them and enjoy, just like our guests do,
That's right. And some of that is the allure. I tell people, I said, or you see all these vacations, and I said, I joke and say social media sometimes is a carnival mirror. It's a different representation that you're always putting the happy and the best. But I've seen these pictures recently on TikTok, and it says it's like real. It's either reels or TikToks, and it said being a business owner looks like you're in a very toxic relationship. And it's just guys standing in random corners on their phones texting. And I'm like, oh, I know I must look like that all the time. I'm on vacation. I'm just angry, slacking, or text messaging, or emailing somebody, or trying to figure something. But I find the balance, and a lot of times when we're on a trip, I'll tell people like, look, during this time frame, like, hey, first thing in the morning, I'll be up, I'll be on my computer, get with me. But after this, like, Jen, we're going to do this, this, and this. So like, try to keep the fires at a minimum, until I can get back. Or especially the time change where it's, we're going to bed, and they're like, when we went to Greece this past year, I think we would be going to bed and they were just waking up. So sometimes right before I went to bed at night, I was trying to, answer some questions or whatnot. But yeah, that's because we care. It's because we care about our business, and we don't just leave it to the wolves to just feed. Like, it's, you want to be on top of things and make sure people in your organization got to know your care, right? What's that old adage, like, nobody cares about what you think. They want to know that you care. Everybody in this office knows I care. They know that if they needed me for something, I'd step up. And they know that even if they make a mistake, I will defend them, even though they're wrong. They know that I'll take the blunt of it. I'm passionate about that as well.
People don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. And that is 100%. That's 100% true. And even guests who are unhappy, when we were in Italy recently, I didn't ask for a late checkout because it was like booking.com or Airbnb. I didn't know which one. I'd actually texted the host and said, hey, can I leave at 1? Because I think we were changing places in Rome at the time. And they said, sure, you can leave at 1, no problem. And then we had literally my husband got out of the shower and this guy walks in with his bag of, the bag of linens. And I said, well, there is a lack of communication in housekeeping here. But did I leave them a bad review for that? I did not. Because look, they didn't charge me $200 for a late checkout. They just said, sure, you can stay. Did they tell the guy? No, they forgot. But I think that people that work for us and people that we work with, I think that when we show them compassion, like you said, and they know that we care, I think there's a level of cooperation that you can't buy that type of team.
That's right. That's exactly right. No, and your team is everything. And that's why we talked about all these things in the podcast, is about getting the right team together. And, you look at, I'm a big sports guy. I mean, I was Alabama stuff. The team's always changing. And you look at the NFL, it's, sometimes you think they're crazy. They're cutting or trading that player, but you just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And, But at the end of the day, beach ball now, and Ginger and I talk about this. Beach ball is bigger than me and Ginger now. It used to just beach ball was Hunter and Ginger, but and we tell people like, I hate to use the adage, everybody's replaceable. Obviously, Hunter and Ginger are replaceable. There's somebody at City Hall right now applying for a vacation management license. You asked me about that earlier. I mean, there's somebody out there that wants to be the next Hunter and Ginger, that wants to be better than us, and somebody will ultimately fire beach ball and go to another company. I mean, everybody's replaceable. So just remember that, and remember to always be improving, always be learning. I use the football adage as well. I try to tell people what we're doing, but you have to implement these things, right? Because if Nick Saban gave you his 2012 playbook compared to his 2020 playbook, it's a completely different playbook, right? He was constantly evolving. That's what if you're not growing, you're dying, right? I think I threw like 5 different adages all into that one piece, but they're
That's
all
true.
important.
Especially with AI, guys, especially with AI. I know every time I do a podcast and we mention AI, I say this, but today is different than it was in January. I'm just telling you, it is, April. And I can tell you that back in January, things were different with AI. It's going to be different next year. So do come and see what the vendors are putting together, but also encourage your team to learn. You have somebody interested in AI, somebody young, let them go, let them do it, because there is so much you can do. My son works as a CTO for a company. And he said to me recently, he said, I think I want to just go. He said, I want a contract on the side to do AI because he just loves it so much. It's so much fun for people that do it, and it can really help improve your business. There are all kinds of things that you can do that not to get rid of people, but to help with your processes. Just like you guys have built that bot. If people are interested in reaching out to you, Hunter, to ask you about the things that you're doing, are you willing to chat with them?
Always. I tell people I wish there had been peers to help me. I had to learn it the old school way. I had to learn it, making mistakes and working your way through it. So I do like to mentor it and help people learn.
So tell me this, how would they reach you?
My email is hunter@beachball.com. Doesn't get much more simpler than that. And if we really connect, I'll give you my cell phone.
Well, thank you again for being on the show. And I really appreciate it. And I think that people will get a lot out of it. I think it's really fabulous that you're willing to be a mentor to other people. And guys, please take advantage of that. You can't buy this kind of advice that you can get from someone who you can talk to personally and say, hey, here's my problem I'm having. Have you ever seen this? And they go, yeah, here you go. Well, thanks again. And please give my love to Ginger.
Will do. And come have a ball at the beach.
I would love to. I love your beach. I've been there before and I have stayed there, and it is stunning. It is a gorgeous place.
People don't realize that. I'm a little biased, but I think the Alabama and even into the Florida beaches, we have the prettiest beaches in the world. That sugar sand and emerald waters is just hard to beat.
It is hard to beat. There's the pictures there. If you guys don't believe it, go look. All right. We'll see you later. This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is brought to you by Streamline. To find out more about how Streamline can grow your vacation rental business, visit streamlinevrs.com. Make sure to search for the Vacation Rental Show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.